Bethesda Game Studios is working on an unannounced title, and this is actually somewhat significant. Bethesda Game Studios are the developers of Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Skyrim, and we know their next two games are going to be Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6. But seemingly something else is mixed in there, as we could see from several LinkedIn postings that employees report working on some kind of unannounced title. And although there's a couple of safe bets as to what this could be, there are also some other more speculative or exciting possibilities here, and I want to go through all of this as there's actually quite a bit to unpack. And an important disclaimer, this was not found by me. It was found by Timur on Twitter, and I'm probably butchering his name. It's a great follow because he posts all kinds of insights or findings from LinkedIn, which of course is oftentimes coming from people with actual inside knowledge. And he's been right several times, even calling the fact that ZeniMax may have been sold or had some kind of transition going on months before that was publicly known, of course, with the Microsoft purchase. But okay, let's first start off with the facts. What exactly is going on here, and what is this unannounced game? So two of the positions that have this unannounced project listed are for Bethesda Game Studios Montreal. Bethesda Game Studios right now has 4 separate studios. The core Maryland branch. The core Maryland branch is the people that worked on Fallout 4, Skyrim, but after Fallout 4's release, they started branching out and now have several studios under them. Bethesda Game Studios Montreal is credited with Skyrim Special Edition, actually working on Fallout Shelter and the mobile titles for Bethesda, but even further has been a big support studio with Starfield, but apparently something else that we don't know about yet. As far as the two people working on this, there's a system programmer who worked on Fallout 76 post-launch content, and then his other listing is this unannounced project, and then an environment artist who was only hired in June and is working on this unannounced project. I know some people might speculate, oh, well, what if the unannounced project is just them not updating their LinkedIn to reflect that Starfield or the Elder Scrolls 6 has been announced, but they were working on it? And I think the complete confirmation of that is both of these people started working at Bethesda Game Studios after Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6 were announced. So when they got hired, those games were already known about publicly. We already had these teasers at E3 2018. And one of the other interesting positions that is listed as working on an unannounced title, and it could be a different one, it could be the same one, is someone from Bethesda Game Studios Austin, who are predominantly working and maintaining Fallout 76 right now. This is the studio credited with actually getting multiplayer working in the Fallout engine, and now provide all of the core updates to Fallout 76. This being a senior DevOps engineer who is working on an unannounced title of some kind, and it's listed how he worked on Doom, Fallout 76, and then this title finally. Although this is somebody who left Bethesda Game Studios in March, moving on to other ventures. And the reason this particular position is interesting is his entire job is involving servers and online game environments. He seemingly focused on the multiplayer on Doom 2016 and the multiplayer aspect of Fallout 76. So this definitely seems to suggest whatever this new game could be, this unannounced title, it could have a multiplayer aspect. So unfortunately, it seems like the safest bet here as to what this could be is it's going to be a Starfield mobile game. Back in early 2018, before we even knew about Fallout 76, Todd Howard said this about working on mobile titles.
And I think we'll always have a mobile game in development, just like we do on the larger AAA console PC side where we're overlapping stuff. We're doing that on mobile now. I really enjoy it, faster throw, but
So that right off the bat makes it seem like they always want to have something going on in the mobile space. Blades is a couple of years old now, so it's not surprising that, one, they would co-release a Starfield mobile game with Starfield, or even further, just to have some kind of mobile game in progress. But some of the job listings for Bethesda Game Studios Montreal are also pretty interesting and can inform us about whatever this new mobile game is, assuming it actually is a mobile game. Some of these are described as pushing the bleeding edge of game development for mobile platforms, and then pushing the bleeding edge of AAA game development for mobile platforms. So if you just want to give the safe route as to what this unannounced title could be, I would say it is some kind of multiplayer supported bleeding edge AAA mobile game. That's the most rational and plausible explanation. And although there's technically no indication of it, I would guess it's Starfield themed. They want to introduce people into that world, into the lore, so I wouldn't be shocked if not only do they have the AAA game, but they also release a mobile companion game perhaps a bit earlier than Starfield itself to help introduce people into that world. Although, the interesting part about this is, technically we don't know if this is a mobile game in development. As far as the actual positions working on this title, nothing there seems to indicate it's a mobile title. And one of the big reasons you could argue that this isn't actually a mobile game is, two of these developers don't actually have any experience on mobile games. One developer, that being the most recent hire with the environment artist only hired 6 months ago, worked at the developer that helped co-develop Fallout Shelter and then even later that rip-off mobile Westworld game. So he's probably on a mobile title of some kind, but again, there is the plausibility of 2 unannounced projects. But then when it comes to these other 2 developers is where we get something interesting. Of course, we saw one worked on Doom and then Fallout 76, and the other one also worked on Fallout 76, then this unannounced project. And before he was working at Bethesda, he was actually a network programmer for Ubisoft, with each of the titles he worked on there being full-on AAA releases, nothing mobile. And although that doesn't inherently say much, typically, even just looking at Bethesda Game Studios job listings, if they are listed for a mobile game, or if their responsibility will be a mobile game, they oftentimes want experience having worked on a mobile game. So as far as what else this could be, I've had this tinfoil hat theory of a Fallout 4 special edition for a while. And to be clear, this is pure speculation. There's no actual evidence to back this up, but right now we're seeing the release of next-gen consoles. Bethesda Game Studios just put all this work into getting multiplayer working in the Fallout 4 engine, that of course leading to Fallout 76, and even over time we've seen some upgrades to this engine. Better dialogue interfaces, the lighting has been vastly improved, making the game look a bit better. What if for next-gen consoles we see a release of Fallout 4 Special Edition? The game looks a bit better, has some back-end upgrades like we saw with Skyrim Special Edition, but the other big selling point is it supports co-op, taking advantage of the improvements made for Fallout 76 and bringing them over to Fallout 4. Now, would you honestly say you wouldn't try Fallout 4 with 1, co-op support, and then 2, better performance on next-gen systems? Now, of course, that could cause some weird issues or a weird dynamic with Fallout 76 also existing, but even still, apply the same logic to something like a Skyrim Special Edition, Skyrim Super Special Edition that has co-op. Either way, that's a super tinfoil hat theory, but I definitely think there is some plausibility of this being something else. You could also go back further and perhaps it's a remaster of one of those older games, whether it be New Vegas or Fallout 3, but the multiplayer aspect doesn't really fit in as easily there. I think it'd be a much bigger stretch to have Fallout 3 with multiplayer. But again, I do want to reiterate that that is a pretty big long shot. The safe bet again is a Starfield mobile game that supports multiplayer or a network connection of some kind. Maybe it's just social features, who knows? But either way, a couple of other things to throw out there that are just worth considering. Some open trademarks that Bethesda and ZeniMax do have that could come into play here. One of the big ones is Redfall. That one actually involved in a lawsuit with a Redfall book series. A lot of people think Redfall is the name of the next Elder Scrolls game though, so that's likely where that comes into play, but technically we don't know. Giant Monster News has just been there for a really long time, consistently getting renewed. Very vague, we have no idea how that could fit in. And also Spy Team, which was actually only just filed in summer of 2018. That'd be the worst name for a game ever though, so let's hope it's not Spy Team. And it's also important to keep in mind when speculating that this is independent of the Microsoft transaction. Clearly this game has been in development since at least March, considering one employee left in March and has it on his resume. But even further, the Microsoft transaction hasn't actually gone through yet, so Microsoft couldn't have any influence on this game one way or another. It was there before that. Although some other things to keep an eye on, I didn't really have a different video to fit them into, but they are important. We recently saw that Fallout 76 is going to be at the Game Awards with a new trailer. We don't know much about what this trailer will be one way or another, but it does confirm that Bethesda Game Studios will be at the Game Awards. The trailers at this event tend to be pretty sizable. If Fallout 76 is putting a trailer there, I would expect to be something big, perhaps a look at year 3 content coming next year. But even further, if Bethesda Game Studios is going to be there, we could hypothetically hear about this game or see an intro trailer to Starfield, maybe another far out teaser to kind of kick off a year-long marketing campaign. I still think that's very, very unlikely, but it's worth watching the Game Awards to find out either way. At the very least, we'll have something from Fallout 76, and also some non-Bethesda Game Studios titles, but some Bethesda and ZeniMax titles. We know the Elder Scrolls Online developers with ZeniMax Online Studios are working on a new IP. We don't know much about what that is. They also might have Commander Keen still kicking around somewhere back there. We could hear or see something from them. And also, Bethesda didn't have an E3 event this year, which is an important thing to keep in mind. We saw trailers and reveals for Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo at the PlayStation event, but I wouldn't be shocked if perhaps one of the other studios that's working on some kind of new game or maybe a DLC for a game that would have typically been at E3 may have just been pushed back, allow the game to get a bit more development done, more polish overall, so you could have a better trailer later. The Game Awards is the last big opportunity to reveal a trailer like this, so if Bethesda had any surprises up their sleeve at E3 outside of Ghostwire and Deathloop, I would imagine this is when we would see it, because the next major event isn't for a while. They could do something at PAX East, but it doesn't even look like PAX East is really happening next year. And then of course, also just Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, they're both coming in 2021, we could definitely see a trailer. Deathloop actually just getting a recent teaser around its release date announcement. Either way, there's a lot to look forward to. The Game Awards is going to be on December 11th. Cyberpunk Cyberpunk 2077 comes out on December 10th. I'm going to be very busy and probably live streaming a bunch during that time. If you want to get subscribed, we are under a month away now. But with that said, I thank you all again for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.